Hello, welcome to the Chamael Corp. My name is Chris.
I'm Chip.
And we are continuing our discussion of the basement spaceship build. Starship build? What the timetable looks like, just to bring everybody here up to speed. So we have some things that are in flight that need to conclude before we can really start the build. The basement has been waterproofed. That was step one. We had a new electrical panel installed, and we've got to do just a little bit of work with some of the outlets down here before the city comes to inspect that and sign off on it. That's maybe, I'm gonna guess 2 to 3 weeks. And then we can kind of start to build, to design, to do things.
I mean, we can start designing, but I think until we have the space ready, then we need to really plan out, based on that design, where we start.
Yeah.
And I think we start with a wall.
Yeah, I think so too. And if we look at a plan, you can see where it says table is where we're sitting right now.
Yep.
And then to the left of table, you can see a wall that divides this current space into 2 smaller rooms. So that's really what we're talking about, right? Getting that wall in, getting that pocket door in, so that we can start to build around that.
Yeah, we're going to have to build off of that for some of the other pieces. So I think having that in first will be primary. And then I think the way you talked, we'd build out the space we're in right now with the table as kind of your first phase of the project. And then the cockpit and consoles on the other side would be the second piece of it.
Yep. And, I think we mentioned there were a couple different reasons we were approaching it there. Obviously, the command center would be the most fun to do first. But I need a space to work.
Yeah.
Our Doctors Who podcast show, which we film as well as this, it would be nice to have a better backdrop than all of this. So I just think it makes more sense to start here and then move forward. We've talked, if we come back to the diagram, so obviously with this room, right, we've got kind of that table. If you look below the table, you're going to see 2 things. The one to the left is going to be like a couch.
And there's bump up against the wall.
It'll bump right up against that wall. There's a little divider wall, and then there's a sink right next to the couch. That sink actually exists today. I like having it there. I think it makes sense if you think about the theme of a spaceship or a starship, that this galley space would have a sink.
Yep.
And then maybe building like an access panel or something, so you can cover it up when it's not in use, right?
Yeah, and we talked about with that seating area having some sort of storage, so like the seat might, the cushions may pull off the top, and we have some sort of storage area because you'll lose some storage area as we do this.
That lower right corner, we actually need to keep kind of out of the main space because the main water line comes in there for the house and things like that, so that needs to be accessible. It's also the main sewer drain. That's where you can get access to that. So those are important things.
So we can hide them, and then you don't lose the illusion that it's a starship.
Exactly. Yeah. And as you look on the right side, you see where that wall kind of continues on, and we're going to be putting a treadmill back behind there that folds down. And then in the upper right-hand corner, that's where the TARDIS is going to go.
Yeah.
Because we put a lot of time and effort and love into that TARDIS, and it has to have a place of prominence. It's probably the only thing that's going to really just break the illusion. But it does travel through time and space, so there's that. So that kind of details out what that galley space looks like. Now, when we're talking about that wall, obviously we have to
This one.
that main wall, that dividing wall.
Yep.
We need to not only consider the pocket door, but also we need to be able to run the appropriate wires
Yep.
through there. Because going back to the drawing, if you look on the other side of that wall, you've got the command chair. And we want to have that wired up with buttons on the arms to activate lights, turn on ambient noise, things like that, right? Yep. So being able to run the appropriate electrical through that wall. So yeah, we should be able to get wires and things like that.
Yeah, so you should be able to run a main power line back over to here and then branch things off of your captain's chair from there.
Yeah. And then moving on towards the main, or that command area, right? So obviously we've got the walls, you've got the main screen on the very left, and then the walls kind of angle back toward the rest of the space. There is a door in the bottom left. The sump pump is in that corner, so once again, that needs to stay open and accessible. And then the rest of that just serves as storage. What I would love to do at some point is get a better PC that can just permanently sit behind there, can run that main view screen. Well, I think it's worth noting that this is not the most recent draft, right? There's a little bit of difference in the command deck, or the command room. So basically that raised platform.
I call it a dais. How about a podium?
That platform will kind of extend down to that lower right console there, right?
Okay.
But
because I think you kind of changed the look of that console too, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, it's going to be kind of more of like a standing console.
Yeah.
When we were putting this together, we started to kind of think about what kind of a ship this actually was. Was it a big ship like you would see on Star Trek? Was it a starship like the Enterprise? Was it a smaller ship, something like the Millennium Falcon? And I think we landed more on it's a smaller ship. She's built for speed. She's built for stealth. She exists in a time where there's not faster than light travel. But there is artificial gravity, because it would be very difficult to simulate 0G in my basement.
Well, give climate change enough time, and maybe, but yeah, I get that.
And so starting to think about like the bridge consoles and things like that, you think, okay, well, if this is a crew of 3 or a crew of 4 that's running this ship, they should probably have like seating that can, that you can strap into, like a 5-point harness system in case things get rough. You're under attack, you fly through some asteroids or like some sort of some interference or something like that. So instead of like just seeing like the freestanding chairs that you saw in Star Trek, maybe it's more what you see in The Expanse.
Like a jump seat or something.
Yeah. So starting to take some of that into consideration, because this channel's been focusing on just immersing you in the experience. That's what really gets me excited, is like, it's like making me feel like I'm actually playing Sabacc, having the actual credit chips, or when we were doing 3-dimensional chess, just having that chessboard.
We had martinis on that one.
We did. You broke a glass.
I did.
If anybody wants to check that out, I'll put the link right there.
And one thing you've done too is, on that drawing you shared, that's really just those 2 rooms on the ship. You kind of designed a bigger ship that you could probably share at some point or put out there someday. But it's really, this is the living space and kind of the command space of the ship. So
well, yeah, the idea is like there are 2 or 3 decks of living space, and this comprises most of the first deck.
Communal space.
Or communal space, right? There are like passageways and walkways that go around for maintenance access. There's like a bathroom. There's like an airlock entrance. There's a ladder that goes down to the second deck, which is probably more living area and maybe like bunks and things like that.
Yep.
But that comprises maybe, that space, if you're thinking length, is maybe a quarter of the size of the ship. The rest of it is like engines and like
some big engines on the
machinery and technology to make this thing go the way it goes and all of that. So the habitable space is relatively small in comparison to the whole ship.
Yep, then that makes sense.
But yeah, we should get on Nick to finish that drawing. I already paid him in Beskar, so
just like a bounty hunter.
Yeah.
I can't remember what else.
Well, and I think it's kind of our intent to basically construct a technical manual for the ship.
Yeah.
Which will be available
Have some schematics
on Patreon. Do we want to talk about our ultimate plans for this whole
I think we
endeavor?
should.
I think we should. Should that be the next video?
Yeah, we could.
Maybe we kind of let
Should
this
talk your long-term vision in the next
vision.
episode.
Yeah. And then the next public video on the YouTube channel, I think, is going to be Starship Build 3, The Search for Greeblies. Because I've been doing a lot of that.
Yeah, you found a few.
I did. Nick gave me a bunch of old tools, a couple of vacuum cleaners, and a bunch of stuff. So
I should look in the shop because I've got some old tools of my dad's that I could probably part out. And
there's
some more Greeblies.
There's some fun things when you start tearing stuff apart.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be fun. Anyway, we will leave you now. We thank you for your time and energy. We would love for you to hit the like button and the subscribe button, and if you click that bell notification, you will get notified when we post new content. We are really looking forward to this build. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's very ambitious. We've never done anything like it before, but if the TARDIS has taught us anything, it's that we can do whatever we set our mind to.
Yeah.
And so can you. Motivational speech done. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.